I was answering phones. I was running service. I was running install. I'm trying to make a place I always wanted to work at. If I've learned anything over the past year, I can't be the guy out there doing it all. You take people's homes in your own hands and treat it like it was yours.
Wilson just wrapped up the year in the low 20s, and we were pumped. I mean, most of the industry did not have that same level of success. And when I think about who was a huge partner for us, like top of the list was Service Scalers. We've been working with Service Scalers for a couple years now, and they've helped us drive best-in-class SEO, best-in-class PPC, and dominate LSA and GMB marketing. They've been a huge partner for us, and we're really grateful for that partnership because it's helped us to take down 46% year-over-year growth. As we think about our budget next year, we're aiming for the low 30s, and one of our most strategic partners is going to be Service Scalers. They're going to help get us there. They're going to help us stay ahead of AI. They're going to help us keep our SEO relevant. They're going to help keep us on the top exactly where we want to be. So make sure you check out servicescalers.com. Sam and his team over there is just a bunch of killers. So thank you, Service Scalers, for your partnership.
Welcome back to Owned and Operated. We got your host, John the Maniac Wilson.
We really need to get
wild.
you like a bullhorn, like
I think I missed my calling.
You missed your calling.
Or one of those drop-down mics.
Yeah, there you go from the ceiling.
Yes.
And that other person you're hearing today is Andrew Morrell. Morrell? How do you pronounce that?
Morrell, yep. Andrew Morrell.
How you doing, Andrew?
Yeah.
Thanks for being on the pod.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to be a part of it. Thank you.
Well, I don't know about you, John. I'm super excited to have Andrew here today. Andrew was in our last workshop in September of last year. And I think Andrew had one of the coolest stories, to be honest. And also, I mean, you're from my wife's hometown, so we know a lot of the same people. I gave my father and mother-in-law your information, so hopefully they're using you now. Really cool stuff.
Did you guys sell a membership?
Are
you actually honestly, serving his in-laws? Because that'd be awesome.
I do not believe we have yet. I feel like I would have heard about that, but we'll definitely make note and let you know when that call comes through.
We're pumped to have you on. I'd love it if you just started rolling through your story a little bit behind Mountain West HVAC.
Sure. So I'll give you the 2-minute version of it. I guess I went to college in Vegas. Which actually is not Northern Nevada. It's 7 hours south. Most people are like, oh, you're Nevada. You must be right next to Las Vegas. We're totally different.
I definitely think that. Yeah, I definitely think that.
I went to UNLV, graduated college, had big plans to become a law enforcement officer that ended up not working out. But in the meantime, I had a friend down there that worked in heating and air conditioning. So started installing units in the hot attics of Las Vegas. And after 5 or 6 years of that, I had enough of that and was like, I'm going to go to a little bit more mild climate and enjoy myself a little more. So I moved to Northern Nevada, worked for a couple companies up here, worked for the state of Nevada, taught at the career college up here a bit, and then just decided I wanted to do my own thing. Fortunately, I was working at the state at the time. So I was able to kind of have my side hustle HVAC business. As I worked for the state, it was no competing with the state. It was typical state job. So, but I got my contractor's license 2018. Started the business myself. I already owned a truck. I had a shed in my backyard. It was like an old lean-to that used to be for a horse, and I didn't have horses, so started parking a bunch of stuff under there and had equipment in there. All dust would be blowing in the ductwork. I have to shake it off every time I get out. But started myself, eventually got some employees. And then now to the point where we are worked out, I was able to come across a commercial property up the road from my house. So my shop is literally 22 seconds from my house, which is nice.
Like walk or drive?
I drive. I mean, I could walk, but it's cold in the morning sometimes. But
that's funny.
But started myself. Definitely more of a trade guy. Definitely HVAC technician first and foremost. That learned how to do business. Is learning how to do business. Got some good people in place. Got a great situation going. Great employees. recently added backup generators. Or a Generac dealer here. So yeah, heating, air
Nice.
conditioning. We do have a full-blown electrical contracting license, but currently focusing on EV chargers, main panels, and backup home generators. So yeah, kind of ground up. I own the business 100%. Don't have any investors or anything like that. That's all been income in, put it back in the business, put it back in the business, put it back in the business, and kind of cash flowed myself to here. And here we are trying to figure it out still. So, but yeah, it's great.
And what size is the business now? Like, give us you started in 2018. Do you remember like annual revenues?
Yeah. So actually, I should be able to remember it pretty specifically, but 2018, I remember $185,000 in gross profit. And then 2019, I believe I stepped up to 685,000. Now, 2018, I was 100% by myself. 2019, I did have my first employee come aboard, and
Okay.
I did the occasional go down to the hardware store. Hey, which one of you guys wants to make $100 to help me lift this oil burner into place,
Nice.
or whatever it was?
Yeah.
Nice.
And might have had two or three total employees. 2019, 685,000, and then the 2020, I think it was 1.2 million. 21 stepped up to, I think I was 1.9 to 2.2 ish range. And then 22 was 2.7, and then 23 was 2.7. 22 to 23 was not a growth year in the gross profit standpoint, but that was a year where I was definitely struggling. I was at that point. I was answering phones. I was running service. I was running install. I was answering. It was typical. Anybody that started seems like anybody that started
Owner's
HVAC
hell, man.
companies.
There's a,
75,
There's a name
75
for it.
hat, 100%.
Yeah.
And then in 2023 to 2024, I made some good hires, great people in the office, great employees in the field, began the vision of me delegating my jobs to other people. And here we are, and still working on that. Last year, we were right at 4 million with half of the year with 7 employees, and then ended the year with 13 employees. And one of the reasons behind that was, going to the workshop, you guys are like, what are you doing? And I'm like, that is a great question.
That's actually what we just do at the workshop. Lots of berating of the people that are there.
Well, it's like that one guy. What's that one guy who with the car dealerships where he brings you up on stage and he just like mocks you?
Oh, I forget his name. He's also bald.
Yeah, he's also bald. He's basically Jack. He's basically Jack.
All right.
This is a model. But no, we do not intentionally berate. Andrew was a good sport. We did berate him a little bit.
That's how I learned. Hey, tell me
what
how
you said
bad
then
I'm doing
too.
something. Look, tell me what I'm doing the worst at, and then I know where to go fix it. And there's a lot of that. And but yeah, after the workshop, I hired 4 people.
Wow.
So
like what positions?
3 apprentices. 2 are more in the install side of things now. They can lead their own jobs.
Nice.
And then another service tech, and then another multifaceted service tech, install, generator technician. We're working on officializing the CSR position here. We still have the combo office manager phones combo. We are actively going to be hiring here shortly to fill that position moving into the summer. We know we got to have somebody on the phones full time. I know you guys talk about your call centers and your workflow of those different positions.
Yeah.
It's a huge piece. So working on that amongst all the other, odds and ends. So
you guys, you talked a little bit about launching. I don't even know that you said electrical. It was really panels, EVs, and generators. I mean, to me, that obviously sounds electrical, but in your mind, that seems to be a little bit different. Like you're not going to do like switch replacements, or that's probably what you're saying.
Correct. So currently, we are, my electrician, who's a great friend of mine, he is the qualifying employee of the electrical contracting side of things, comes from a very industrial background, and it's actually more so electrical testing. He was involved with testing main switchgear, like huge voltage and the big, if you know anything about
Yeah.
Northern Nevada, there's a lot of industry coming in, Google, Tesla, Switch,
Yeah.
all the big companies. And he was involved with making sure all that was good. So he's involved with huge switchgear and breaker testing and stuff. So little residential stuff to him is, a piece of cake. But
Mhm.
at the same time, he's not really wanting to go crawl in your attic and string a wire across to a light bulb
Yeah.
necessarily. So that's coming down the road once we find that, proper fit for electrical services. But currently, stuff that tags along. Generators from a maintenance standpoint tie in fantastically with our heating and air conditioning maintenance
Yeah.
program that we offer. So
Yep.
it's good for the customer. It's good for us. Our region, as Jack knows, we're out a little bit more rural. There's definitely some rural areas up here that have 100-year-old power
Mhm.
lines and transformer blew last night in our neighborhood. Power went out last night. I'm like, all right, let's sell some generators today.
Yeah, yo.
But but yeah, so not full blown electrical, but definitely full blown heating and air conditioning service, install, maintenance,
Mhm.
residential, light commercial. The commercial is always a little bit of a struggle because while very similar, there are those differences that's challenge, and that's communicating not with the owner directly. There's some
Yeah.
intricacies with three-phase power versus single-phase power and all that kind of stuff. So it's ever evolving, as you know. So
Yeah, and so where do you think that you said that you did 4 last year? Where are you kind of trending for? What's your goal this year? So 2025.
yeah, so our big goal is 6. I'll be super happy with 5.5 to 6. 5 seems like a fall in. Seems like there's no way we're not going to hit 5. But it's
Yeah.
just a matter of how do we tweak and how do we maximize and make things efficient to hit that extra half million to a million. Part of that involves some more hires. Part of that involves some of dotting our I's and crossing our T's, and organization that, as a small company, just takes time to be able to fill that with manpower. So
When I think about, I just had this conversation with a friend of mine like 2 days ago, and we were talking about annual planning, and this isn't meant to put you on the spot. I'm just like curious
sure.
how you're thinking about it. But we were talking about annual planning, and he said roughly the same size. He said like, oh, I did 5 last year, and I'll do 6 this year. And I was like, that's amazing. That's awesome. And then 2, like, how are you backing into that? How are you getting there? And his approach to planning was like add a percentage, which is what we used to do too, all the way up until like a year or 2 ago. But are you using are you tracking like number of leads, or are you doing anything like analytical, or how are you backing into like, yes, we can achieve a $1 to $2 million jump?
Basically, for us, what that comes down to is knowing what we need to do on a monthly basis, weekly basis, and a daily
Mm-hmm.
average of where we need to be. Now, we use Service Titan. I don't use it to its
Yeah.
potential. I tend to have issues where a small fish, they don't tend to give me great support with it. But we use it to what we can. But the tracking, the dashboard's pretty cool. That allows us to kind of compare year over year. Now, last year was our
Mm-hmm.
first year with those metrics, and we know we took from those metrics. We actually have our own version of a spreadsheet where it shows, hey, last January, our daily average was X, our weekly average was X for each month, and then we basically have calculated a percentage of that. And did it in reverse. How do we hit 6 million as the end goal? And it gives us our daily,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how do we do that, right? And part of that comes from like another thing that I learned in the workshop was, 3-day call board. I mean, sounds basic. From a business standpoint, yeah, you got to pay attention to what's on the board and make sure you got work. But it wasn't, it was really driven in, how important that is. And it's also allowed us to plan not only from a pricing standpoint, but from hey, do we need to give out some deals to fill the schedule, or do we need to do a break
Mm-hmm.
even install, or can we make some more money, right? So we take all the data and numbers that we have to figure out what we need from a daily basis, and we give ourselves a goal, and how do we hit that? Like I said, I think before we went live here, January, we were up 36% over 2024 January. So we're on track. But mostly just what do we need to do to get there, and let's figure out how to do it. It's there's not a huge grand strategy other than just rolling with it.
It was funny. We're members of Nexstar, and like I think Nexstar's like just awesome, honestly. So if you're big enough, you should be a part. It's great.
Sure.
But we did this workshop with them last December, and before then, like, you know, we've run a quarterly and annual planning process for years, and like one of my like big wins is that it always gets better. Like we always get a little bit better at it, and I think it's embarrassing how far we've gotten without knowing how to do like what's kind of fundamental. Like I'll talk to some people and they're like,
Oh yeah.
they're like, dude, we've been doing that since we were like 5 million. And I'm like, I don't know, bro. Like we don't know how to budget. I don't know what to tell you.
I won't tell you what we do wrong because it's so embarrassing. But it's like I mean, I literally this past week, I'm like, all right, guys, we need to collect everybody's receipts and track them. Like that's how like little things that where it's just like I'm like,
it's
what?
a lot.
You don't do that, and I'm like, oh. I feel you.
I mean, there's just so many things, but the thing that we learned this past October that we're like, I'm like, oh my God, you know, like once somebody tells you, you're like, yeah, duh, was instead of just measuring the output, which is revenue, measuring the input to achieve that, which like,
okay,
all that means is like, okay, how many leads did I run last January? How many leads did I run this January? Did we net grow? Did I increase the number of leads? Like that's it.
Cool.
Cause then once you, and like now we're like hyper focused on this, right? Cause we're like 90 days into learning this, you know, thing that I should have learned 20 million something ago. But that was hugely helpful. So I don't know, for February, maybe just like, hey, how many leads did our guys run? And then from there, like breaking out, well, how many turned into revenue? And then what was that average revenue? So that's basically all I'm saying is number of leads, what's your conversion rate, and what's your average ticket? And then that's how you can continually improve, which we were focused on the average ticket and the conversion rate like crazy. We were not really paying attention to just, hey, raw leads. Did they grow? Like, are we running more leads? Or is the reason we're growing because of price increases or efficiency? And those are two totally different like growths, right?
Yeah.
So that was my funny anecdote from 90 days ago.
Yeah. Heck yeah. No, I mean, that's ultimately our goal is to be able to get to a point somewhere where we have some more data like that. You know, hey, you know, how do we get there is a great question and a great thing to pay attention to. And, you know, I'm in a much smaller position than that. And, we don't tend to track our leads, we don't monetize our leads because it's, not something we have really started doing yet. I was telling Jack before we started here, I played around with PPC Google Ads, and man, if you want to light $5,000 on fire, just do it out in the backyard rather than try and do PPC yourself. You know, it's like,
oh yeah. When I first started trying to do PPC, I tried myself, and this was 20. Well. I think everybody tries it. It was 2016.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I started with like, it was like $6,000 a month, and just
don't do it yourself is the key here, guys.
Yeah, it's awful.
All three of us are saying no.
Yeah, I'm like, I was like, cool. I need to start spending some marketing, you know, dollars and try and drum up some business. I was like, well, that is definitely not the way to do it.
That's one of the coolest parts about your story, though, Andrew, that I find extremely interesting is you have gotten here pretty much on word of mouth and guerrilla marketing. You really haven't done the typical LSA, PPC, SEO path that we see most companies getting to this point. Can you talk a little bit about that and what has been your strategy to grow to be, I mean, essentially almost a $6 million company this year without any of that? Sure.
Yeah, it's not that we haven't done any marketing. It's that we have not necessarily spent money on that marketing in the traditional sense. I mean, our marketing from the basic standpoint, obviously we have business cards. Everybody has matching uniforms. We've got wrapped trucks. We've got a website which is being revamped, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit here. But from the paying for leads standpoint, I've played with some Angie's and Home Advisor stuff, but we just actually restarted doing that to see how it's going. That's going pretty well. It's fair. But yeah, I mean, the way that we've drummed up our business to this point is, hey, make that connection with the customer. Anytime, you're out and about, talk to people, be like, you get into that conversation of, oh, what do you do? Be like, oh, I do heating and air conditioning. If you ever need anything, here's a card. From that standpoint of, I'm not much of a drinker anymore, but I used to go to the bar and everybody's your best friend at the bar and you just hand cards out, or you go to, different events, and just communicate and network. And, Reno is, they call it the biggest little city in the world. And it is the case. You treat people right. You take people's homes in your own hands and treat it like it was yours. You do what you say. They're going to refer you. They're going to call you back. And a lot of these people, they have their own business. And then now if you treat them right, they, communicate with all their customers, or, realtors are great avenues. Anybody that is also in a networking position, you treat them, fairly and stick to your word and do a good job. They're going to refer you. And it's just been a good success for us. We just, if we say we're going to do something, we do it. If we do something, if we put a system in your house and you're like, man, I don't like this, I'm going to come pull it out and be like, hey, what do you want? And I'm going to put it in and you're not going to pay anything. Stuff like that. It's just accountability, customer service, call them before you leave to go to a customer's house, following up with them, just being professional. It's hard to find a service where somebody calls you and say, hey, I'm on the way. They're there when they say they're going to be there, and then they do a good job. Ultimately at the end of the day, we try and fix reasonable issues. We don't feel that everybody needs a brand new system right then and there. We've got a large customer base of people that we fix their furnace, and, in 5-10 years, we'll probably change it out. And I've seen that from, customers from 2018. They're like, hey, I remember when you came out and you fixed this thing. Everybody else said you had to replace it. And now we're out there giving them an estimate and we're changing their system out. So it's just it's a diversification of lead generating customers. It's kind of how I view it. So that being said, it's not perfect, right? It's February. We're looking for work. I'd love to have that dial to turn and be like, cool, check this out. I got some more jobs coming in.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you have that dial to turn, because, most people's dials are already turned up as much as they can.
Oh, yeah.
Yours is all the way off.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
so
you basically have all the leverage in the world.
Yeah.
I think Chris has tweeted about this a few times, but like when a business is spending 10 to 12% on marketing, like where else can you go, right? Like you're already eating into your cash flow. But if you're spending like under 4 or under 2, then you can go anywhere.
1%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So then you can go
1%,
anywhere.
So.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So really, it's kind of an interesting.
I love that.
You just have all the leverage, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Like you get to experiment and make something work.
Yeah. I did forget, we do have 2 billboards that are paid through our co-op program. So, but it's
Nice.
in and out of the shop. Our trucks drive right by it. Our trucks look like the billboards. They see the billboard. They see our trucks. It's like a brand recognition strategy. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like I said, it's one. Last year was less than 1%. We are signed up with service scalers this coming year for some SEO, website, kind of building the base of that pyramid to implement in the future, possibly some PPC, LSA. Honestly, I don't know what any of that looks like at the moment, but the guys over at Service Scalers are doing a great job. They're helping us build our website, maximize it. We're going to go live with them next week, so we'll have a new website next week and start that SEO.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
check that out.
Starting it out.
Do you think? Do you think? What do you think the percentage of marketing is going to be this year? Like it was 1% last year. So like, are you guys like, let's jump to 4 or 3 or?
Based on the scale of the growth there, it's probably still going to be. I don't anticipate us being more than $100,000 spent towards marketing this year. So 5 million or 6 million, that's still
Like 2%,
10%.
1.5%. Yeah.
Yeah.
It kills
Yeah,
me.
1.5 to 2%. So,
Jack's
if
crying.
it works,
He's
I
crying.
am. Like, this is such a
Jack,
awesome
how much are
place
you
to
going to
be.
spend?
I'm gonna spend like 300,000 or 400,000, and we're only at like 5 or 6%, like 4 or 5%.
Yeah.
And I know that like we pay about $55 a lead if you're to add, or $50 a lead if you're to add $100,000 in just like lead generation spend.
Oh, yeah.
You could bring in 2,000 leads.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you could do the math if your average ticket is, I don't know, $100. Like, there's just easy money that I see that for you, and I'm like, this is so awesome. It's such
a
a
cool
good problem
spot.
to have.
Yeah, it's a good spot to
very
be.
good
Yeah.
spot to be.
yeah, I'm definitely excited. Like I say, I don't know anything about that side of things, so definitely relying on the service scalers, and we're going to be working with them to see how the website and everything goes. But I'm excited for it. I love to be able to have another thing to pull from to generate the work for the guys. And my goal is to keep everybody 40 or more every week. And we work really hard to make that happen. And having those extra levers to pull definitely would help. Keep our guys going. And we've done a great job over the past year keeping everybody 40 or more. Here or there we got some little bit less, but nobody's complaining. And drive around town and look at some of the bigger guys, 8, 10, 20 trucks sitting there. I'm like, oof, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
We're about 8 months into using Avoca, and Avoca's been an awesome partner for us in our call center. So what Avoca does for us is they do 2 different things. One, they have their Coach product, and Coach has been helping us do what it says. Coach our CSRs every single day. It listens to every call and uses AI technology to basically pick apart that call and tell us where we can improve. And for the last 8 months, we've been consistently improving our scores, which has been awesome. The other product they have is just conventional booking. And it's an AI tool that books over the phone. A customer calls in and it either handles overflow, as in our phones are full, or it does nights and weekends for us. And a customer will call in and actually deal with an AI agent all the way through booking. And the savings inside call center has allowed us to ramp up our marketing to continue to grow even more. Thank you, Avoca, and thank you, Tyson, for your partnership.
Well, I think the advantage here is you have all the low hanging fruit still left to pull. So
Yeah.
like the you'll hear Jack and I talk pretty. I'm going to pick on Jack, and I'll pick on me too. I'm going to pick on Jack first. But like Jack doesn't have the low hanging fruit to pull anymore. Like, you've added more GMBs, you're probably full spending on LSA. Like, if you're getting leads, like you're getting them through Thumbtack or like lead aggregators or TikTok still, or like you're having to put in real energy. So I think the thing that's exciting, I'm just reiterating for the 100%. Audience, I guess, like you still have every single one of the lowest hanging fruit, primarily LSA and GMBs. Like, PPC is good, but PPC, you only start using PPC once LSA is like, once you're rolling on LSAs. Because LSA is like the gold standard for lead generation.
Like, to put it in perspective, I would probably have to go to Facebook or somewhere where I'm not really used to. I'd have to go create a bunch of copy, a bunch of videos, and then try and pay somebody to get those in front of the right people and do lookalike audiences and all this kind of crazy stuff to drive that many leads, or go start putting billboards around and realize, hey, they're not really working, pull them, go put them somewhere else. Like, there's so much I would have to do to get those same 2,000 leads. So it deserved to be picked on here because I'm really pumped for you. Like, this is, I think in the next few years, you're in a really, really good position.
Yeah, you're about to ride.
Awesome.
You're about to go for a
ride.
ride.
It's like half excitement, half jealousy, but either way.
Yeah, mine's half anxiety, half excitement.
Yeah. Well, I think just like stick with the simple stuff first. Like, LSAs is the easiest, and it's also the best. It's not just the easiest, but it is the best when it works. It'll drive like the highest quality lead. We measure. I actually pulled this up just in case this came up. I had them send this to me like a couple minutes ago. This is our spend. This is I don't know if this is last week or last month. It's last month. Okay. So this is our spend. So for LSA, we spent $37,000. We got 997 leads. Our booking rate was looks like 40%, which is pretty common. Like, once you start really spending on LSA, book rate's kind of low. Could be vendors, could be random questions, pick a thing. Cancellation rate was high. We sold 20% of them. And like, still, despite all that, like we felt okay, like 7.7 times return on investment. We like to see a minimum of 8. But like what you can just see from there is LSA, 1,000 leads and 422 book jobs. Like it is the king of lead generation. There's other things that like Angie started really doing good work for us, but like LSA pumps leads. So it's just the lowest hanging fruit. So yeah, that's awesome that you still have that up in front of you. All right, that was John's January return on investment.
If you're watching on YouTube, like Jack's face got really close to it. I'm trying to see all the juice there.
Yeah, well, we'll block out all the names. Got to keep some of my secret sauce secret.
Yeah, that's all secret shot. I know, right?
Yeah. All right, so you got there mainly with no marketing, which is awesome. What do you think over the past or over the next year? Like you're at a size now where like leadership starts to become a big challenge. You brought up office staff and bringing on some great people. Like, what do you think the administrative side of your business? Like what's changed in the last year, and what are you going to do this year?
December 23, hired our office manager. She's come in and done a great job. February 24, hired a general manager. And so it's myself and the office manager, general manager in the office. We meet every day, go over our 3-day call board, continue to keep our books at capacity. Recently also added a project manager, and he's in charge of exactly what that sounds like, all the projects, whether it's an install. He's learning on the backup home generator side of things, but basically managing the guys in the field, and we're in the office managing the schedule. So yeah, I mean, it went from in basically most of 2023, only me in the office when I was in the office and not helping service calls or in the field, to adding those 3 management positions to help manage the additional hires. So moving forward, we definitely need to solidify that CSR position to help free up our office manager. She's wearing too many hats at the moment. She does a fantastic job with it, but we need to get somebody in there to just be that front face customer service intake specialist. And I think that's going to be our big step for the office, moving into, we're in the new year, but moving towards summer, the big season, and then potentially another hire for in the field. And then that should, with that amount of employees, with our roughly 350,000 per employee kind of rate, get us where we need to go, or at least close to where we need to go. So that's kind of our hiring strategy moving forward.
Hiring like first leaders is a lot. How have they taken the delegation of new duties?
Every time I ask them to take on another role that I used to do, it's, yep, let's do it. Let's figure out how to make it happen. And it's been very smooth every time. We're just kind of at that point now where they are at max capacity of what they can handle. So we're looking to add that position. But we got a really great group of guys and going, and everybody is not afraid to wear a different hat. And similar in any smaller business, started the generators. Hey guys, we got to dig a trench today. Nobody wants to dig a trench. They're HVAC techs, but they're willing to, and they do it, without hesitation, because they understand it's, hey, we're getting somewhere, and we got to do this to get where we want to go. So yeah, I mean, good group of people, not afraid to make changes, and I'm learning how to allow them to make those changes and delegate those responsibilities myself. So
that's what I was going to ask, is how has your role changed, right? You started as like a tech doing everything, then you went into the office doing everything, and now you're moving into managing managers. How has that process been for you?
Good. I actually enjoy it. Typically when you're a guy that's I'm a service tech, I'm in the field, I don't want to be an office guy, right? I have actually been finding myself that I enjoy the mind game or puzzle of managing, the squares on the board, I guess on the dispatch board, making sure they're flowing and filled, and figure out, who's better suited for what position. And I get to tweak those processes and help the managers tweak the processes that help the guys in the field. It's been a lot more fun for me, a lot less stressful. I'm not doing all of that and then having to run 6 service calls or crawl under a house or go do estimates or anything like that. So I'm finding myself in a good position where, I'm starting to be able to pay attention to our books more, pay attention to those KPIs that we need to pay attention to make those tweaks to allow us to get to that next level. And my managers have been fantastic. Our general manager has got great ideas for not only helping get our budget visuals where we need to go, meaning he's in charge of creating that monthly percentage, daily goal. But he's also very keen on making sure, hey, how are we keeping our guys happy? It's nice that there's somebody else also doing that. We try and do a great job of that. Take them on fishing trips or go out on dirt bikes or whatever it is, or take them out to dinner or whatnot. But, heating and air conditioning is a tough job. If you're not having fun and if you're not making money doing it, it's hard to do it. And finally in that position where that's what I get to work on, is making sure these guys have a great place to work. I always tell people I'm trying to make a place I always wanted to work at. And I feel like we're getting there, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That's fun. I remember we used to be better about it, like doing what you're saying. And it's not a good excuse, but it's what happened. We bought these companies and we got really busy. And in like running these different locations and putting it all together, and then like the crises that followed, that stuff dropped, and it sucks because we're just now, like I'd say in the last 4 months, starting to get good again at driving regular, like workplace enhancement, just like having a great culture. But we've had a good, like very performance driven culture, but it's also like, is it just a good culture? And sometimes we miss the boat. So, it's fun to be able to be there again, but I remember when we were good at it and it was fun. Yeah, that's cool. Now, I think you're getting ready to launch plumbing, or you're thinking about launching plumbing. How are you thinking about that? Obviously, you just dropped generators, so where's your head at?
Plumbing is the trade I know would be a very good bolt on. The challenge is finding the person to head that up. Because if I've learned anything over the past year, I can't be the guy out there doing it all. So plumbing, while in the future, is definitely an avenue we're going to be going down immediately this year, may or may not. Now, a couple things we want to do it for a little bit quicker for the bolt-ons is, water heaters, tankless water heaters, maybe some water filtration. We've got a lot of people on wells. Mm-hmm. So there's a good market, again, kind of picking and choosing like we did on the electrical side to at least get our feet wet and figure out some processes. But to be honest, I've had so many other things I'm working on that adding another trade right now just doesn't realistically seem feasible, but it's definitely a consideration moving forward.
I sort of inherited, like when I bought the business in 2016, we were already plumbing and HVAC, which like now I'm like, why? Cause we were like we were like a, I don't even remember. It was like a little over $1 million, and to run 2 trades. And I think the guys, at the time we were all like, I don't think we thought it was weird. I was still in the field. And, I think it was just like, oh, now I'm going to run a plumbing call, and next I'm going to go run a boiler call. Like, that's just is what it is. Like, I don't know. Right. So I just don't think we really thought about it as like 2 totally different trades. But obviously now I'm like, that was crazy and complicated. But yeah, I think you're right. I will give a little bit of pushback on the you can't do everything. Something that's been kind of fun, and maybe it's just like where you like to play, but something that's been kind of fun as your role continues to change. You get to basically do what you like to do, or like that's how it should be designed. Cause like what's going to give you energy, because you need energy. Otherwise, like, we're just a drain on the business's morale. And one of the things that I have found to be fun, like what I like to do, is like push, like, hey, I want to start something brand new that doesn't really exist, and it's hard to find a place. Exactly what you just described with plumbing. And I think it's one of the phrases that helped me. This was Mark Brook from Permanent Equity, but we talked about it at Holco Conf 2 years ago. But he's got this phrase that just like rent free in my head, and it's managers don't grow businesses, owners do. Managers manage the businesses that the owners built. But like a manager's not going to intentionally break something, right? So they're not going to like run in and be like, hey, this process that works really well, I'm going to break it, and I'm going to make this totally brand new one and, you know, put a flyer on my career. It might be in a year, like you're the one that drives the bus. Because I know for me, and maybe that's fun to you, maybe it's not, but I know for me that's become a big part of my role is like, hey, what's the thing that we don't do yet that like, how do I spot the next roadblock? And then how do I remove that roadblock? And if a roadblock that you'll encounter soon is like keeping your guys busy or stabilizing down season revenue, or like how do you handle cash flow and balance sheet during February, plumbing would help. So that becomes this like, okay, how do we do this? And how do I do it while insulating the rest of my team from John's ideas?
Sure. And the reason why I say that about plumbing is because I'm currently doing that with the backup generators. So,
So you're driving that bus now.
Yeah,
That's
100%.
the fun part.
So now I'm working with our electrician. He's in the panels, setting the panels up, but I'm running HVAC guys that we know how to get stuff anywhere across the house. Right. So we're in charge of getting, gas pipe ready. So we're leveling the pad. We're setting this. I'm helping the electrician see the vision of how to run things. He's the brains in the panel. I'm I guess the logistics side of the communicating with the customers, scheduling, gas piping. He's designing. He's making it happen. I'm helping figure out how to make it happen. And I'm heading that up, and that is a bit time consuming right now. So that is why currently I don't have that time. But
that makes total sense. It was more like it wasn't even feedback. It was more like as the business grows, like the role changes a lot. And I'm right now, like my role, which is kind of, I think I'm just starting to get okay at it. We'd have to actually ask my team. But it's hard, but it's like I'm now have to be like coach, and that we made that my name on Slack, and like that's like the thing. It's like the coach, and like it just changes so much. And like what I want to be often is like, well, hey, let's go run through that brick wall. Like let's go like figure out this thing, and I have to be, and I should be this like coach in addition to that, which I find challenging to switch between the guy that wants to run through the wall and like, hey, let me be supportive. Like it's really hard.
Yeah, I bet. Do you get out with the guys in the trucks ever, or do you go out, strap your tool bags on and get dirty still? Or cool. That's awesome. Yeah. You got to change it up every now and then.
It had been a while, but I started doing ride-alongs, and I think the cadence is going to be once a week forever, basically. Cool. I think it was kind of fun. And I think, and the bigger the business gets, you build all these processes, and you build all these workflows, and testing is an important part of the scientific process, right? Like, hey, we built this thing. Now what? What did it do? What's it feel like? What's the vibe of this material list check process? Does it take 30 minutes when we thought, on our spreadsheet, it was going to take 5? So that's a big part that I'm doing it now. And really almost our whole senior leadership team is doing these ride-alongs pretty regularly now of like, hey, we made this change. What was the downstream? Was it good, bad? Did it help culture? Did it hurt culture? Did it kill our productivity or did it increase it? Did it do what we wanted? Because now the changes impact 80 people at a time. So, and it's really hard to get like a good feedback loop, except for someone walking in and being like, hey, I hate this. And it's like, great. What do you hate about it? Yeah. But that's why I've been getting it. And also just to hang out with guys. Like it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I know on one of your recent podcasts, you guys were talking about your training structure and implementing it a little bit differently. It was like a question answer podcast, and somebody was asking about it. And it's cool to hear that you are still involved in the hands-on side of things. I think that's important as well, because I like to
Yeah.
do the same thing when I can. Yesterday, guys are having an issue on making an access for an attic, and I was like, I'm gonna go
Mhm.
out there. I'll go figure it out. We'll learn something together, and it's cool to be able to show
Yeah.
face on a job and definitely get some respect from the guys in that manner. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I think every like conventional book is like, oh, the owner or president or CEO or whatever, they have to be this like visionary thing. And like, I think that's a part of the job. But like the other part of the job is going out and learning something together and like
Hmm.
understanding the real pain point that's happening inside that business. And I think it takes more and more deliberate work. Like it already will for you because now you have a layer of leadership in between you and the rest of the organization. So now it's going to be much more deliberate. And like you'll cross 10 million in a couple of years, and then you'll have even more managers. And then it's even more like, oh, I need to like set aside time for this, and I need to like, push these vendors off or whatever and go do it. But it's almost like from 5 to 15 million, I was so focused on like what type of leader the books told me I was supposed to be. And I ignored the type of leader that I really just like felt like I should be, which is a hands-on understanding the details, being a part of what our pain points are, and trying to coach when I can, and attempting to just lead through example versus like, you read all the books, and I just don't think that I did a good job of what those books told me I was supposed to be.
Sure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
So,
that's
yeah.
that's cool. You always
Lead authentically, even if it's
Yeah.
counter to what EOS says.
right. Take the idea and modify it to what fits you and your business, even if
Yeah,
it's
I
not
mean,
100% what the other people are saying.
Yeah. I mean, the only way that we can like lead impactfully is like by leading as whoever we are. And I'm a impatient guy that thinks it's fun to go out in the field, and I like to say fuck a lot, and there's a lot of high fives around the office, and like that's just who I am at my core. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That actually was a big surprise for me. The first time I was at John's office, I was like, "Whoa, you said that in front of your team? You just dropping F-bombs in front of your team?" He's like, "Yeah, fuck it, I don't care." I was like, "All right,
I lead as my authentic self,
It's true.
Perfect.
good and bad.
There you go. That's awesome.
All right. So you guys have had a heck of a journey here. So you launched it. You've taken it now to completed 4 million, aiming for 6. You've got
did the
some
workshop.
low hanging fruit. You did the workshop. That was awesome. I'm glad you got a lot of value out of that. You've got some awesome low hanging fruit in front of you, primarily around driving leads, just because you haven't done it before. Man, it feels like you've got a springboard.
Yeah, I just got to figure out how to jump off that springboard and
Yeah.
figure out the first step. So, like I said, I took the first step. We're getting some SEO in place, and I know that's a long-term game, and that's not necessarily directly driven to create a lead right then and there. But like I told Jack before, it's kind of like building the base of our pyramid of marketing. Get your SEO set up, and then start incorporating different things. Like I said, we've started with some Angie, and we've actually sold 2 installs off of Angie.
Nice.
So $80 led to 20,000+, which is great. It's a good start.
I think Angie's, it's easy to get an ROI when it's HVAC, like 10,000, versus like faucet repair. I agree. You'll probably kill it with Angie.
Yeah. So we started that. Like I said, I miserably failed with Google Ads, so I'm going to hold off on doing any more of that until somebody that knows what they're doing can help me out with that. But yeah, I mean, our goal is, even looking into some, direct mailers. I mean, we've got, we've got our zip codes dialed in of, hey, we know where we do the most revenue by zip code.
Yeah.
And we know where we want to work. So, hey, we're there. We send some mailers. Learning about that process. I know it doesn't happen after the first one or second one. It typically takes, I think, the three views of the direct mailers to drive something. So start implementing that. and just, explore the different avenues. I mean, you had mentioned on a previous podcast about there's so many of these lead aggregators that are available,
Yeah.
and you may be the only one on them. I'm looking
It's
for
crazy.
those. So,
Yeah.
that's my elementary marketing strategy moving forward, is to help, springboard us into that.
Yeah.
It's I learned by doing and failing, and we're going to see where it takes us. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think all that makes sense. I think SEO, I tried to pull up the report, cause it still like boggles my mind to this day. But we had worked with Scorpion for a couple of years, and it was just awful. And, our website now, I'm trying to find it so I can pull up another report, but it produces like $200,000 to $300,000 of revenue a month. And that's from like our organic SEO. Like, it is insane.
Wow. That's awesome.
And we did that in like a year. That's not like 10 years of SEO building. Like, that was a year.
Wow.
Yeah, just absolutely crazy. So that's been a huge win for us. And then the other one, and this is just like me giving a quick hit here. I would do LSA so far before mailers. It's not even funny. I mean, LSA is like, you can double or triple with LSA, and that's all you have to do.
Well, and it's easy. You just like turn on the switch
so
on
easy.
and it goes.
Yeah, it's so easy, and it
Money
just
printer.
works. It's a money printer. Go burr. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I think between SEO and LSA, like, you'll be good to like 10 to 15 million bucks.
Okay.
It's almost like comical how easy it works between those.
I guess my first step is even figuring out how to turn LSA on. So I guess I'll look into that.
Yeah. And it takes active there's stuff you got to do. You can do it yourself. I'm sure they can do it too, but like it takes active,
Man,
work.
okay.
But I think my main message there was like, marketing does not have to be complicated. And especially with your setup, like, you've got the simplest marketing ever, whereas like you don't have any. So just like adding one or two things like SEO and LSA, it'll just blow you guys up. It's kind of like you have an unfair advantage right now, because you're not spending anything. So you're in a sweet spot.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that works.
Well, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you sharing your story. This was fun, and it was fun to get to follow up 6 months later and like see what happened. I'm gonna have to have Kristen plug another one in like at the end of the year. Did we hit 6? I want to know.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, no, I had a great time on the workshop, and I love listening to the podcast, and it's been cool to be a part of it, and look forward to, continuing on.
So Andrew, I have one last question for you. We are doing another workshop in April, and we're always curious, what was the most impactful thing for your business out of that entire workshop? What kind of category helped you the most, you think?
The most impactful part of the workshop for me, simply enough, was the 3-day call board and capacity booking, making sure that, you have to be planning day out, 2 days out, which it's easy to lose sight of that as you get caught up in the day that you're working on. Making time in the morning to get with your team, which is another thing I learned at the workshop, was you guys had your morning meetings at the Wilson companies, where plumbing came through, and HVAC came through, and electrical came through, and underground came through, and we're like, hey, this is where we're falling short. This is what we need. And John was sitting there just chilling, drinking his coffee, looking at his team like, look at these guys create work. This is awesome. And so, I
really,
kind of trying
really
to take
making me sound like
out.
a mob boss there.
Yeah, right.
It was awesome. So trying to take that, 3-day call board, capacity booking, thoroughly blown away that you just tell people you're going to be there tomorrow. And you're just like, yeah, we'll be there tomorrow and we'll call you. Within an 8-hour window. Like that's so different than your average service company. But we have implemented a 4-hour time window, which has been phenomenal for us, allowing us to stay within time frames and meet expectations. So 3-day call booking has been fantastic, and capacity planning and just generally getting together to go over the information would be the most impactful. And in fact, I got 2 guys coming to your workshop in April. So we're going to see what their takeaways were. So yeah.
Like from your team?
Yep. My office manager and project manager will be there. Yep.
That's fun. Yeah. One of the fun things is, cause we're doing them every 6 months right now. And like a little bit changes every time. So we got other feedback that explaining call board and explaining sales process was super helpful. So they'll probably get a little bit more of a flavor for that stuff because people requested that we do more of that. So we're going to add some more of that in. So
Yeah, it was awesome.
they'll bring back new ideas.
100%. I'm really excited to see different views. And, I grasped, 5 things and came back and I sat down and everybody was just like, oh, you learned a lot, huh?
Yeah, right.
So I came back and I was guns a-blazing, but we got it sorted out. So
Too cool.
yeah,
That's awesome.
Fantastic time. So appreciate you guys being open
Cool.
with all the information and everything. So
Well, thanks for coming on again. This was cool. If people want to connect with you, how can they get a hold of you?
I'm not the best millennial in the world. I have a Facebook and I am on LinkedIn, but I'm not much of a social media guy. You could either message me on LinkedIn or find me on Facebook. It's just Andrew David on Facebook, and I'm on the owned and operated Facebook page. You can find me on there. But if I can help with anybody for anything, I'm trying to be an open book. The more I can learn and more help I can give other people, the better. So we're all trying to help each other, I think.
Amen. Yeah, it's one of the best parts about the industry is it is wildly collaborative. And I think what's been fascinating is that PE has not changed that very much. Cause I think it's just the culture of the industry is if you like what somebody's doing, you can just ask them, which is kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
What are your trade secrets? Oh, right.
Yeah.
I mean, basically we had Radiant up here from Austin 2-3 weeks ago. And they wanted to understand our service install and how we do warehouse because it's just different. And Woody, their GM, he was just, hey, can we come out? I'm off.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But it is fun. It's a collaborative industry. We love it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah. Have a good.
If you like what you heard, check out ownedandoperated.com.